Hi everyone, my name is Fimo, or Finally Monet, and today I want to rant about this weird TikTok trend that's been going on for a while. And though it isn't as popular now, since most TikTok trends, due to their short form nature, aren't as long lived, I still think it's a discussion that holds a particularly valuable lesson or something, especially regarding the ambience in the general art community that has fostered these kinds of trends. And also, I just want to rant about stuff that annoys me, so bear with me if I'm incoherent and redundant in some parts. Also, obligatory English is not my first language here. The trend that particularly spiked my rage was the "my maximum is someone else's minimum" trend thing. And as far as I know, it wasn't that popular of a trend, but I still saw it a good amount of times with some traction. And by the way, I won't be given any particular examples or anything like that. This video isn't all that well researched besides me watching some TikToks and thinking I can do something from it, so don't take it fully seriously. Anyway. This trend was basically about lamenting not being good enough at art or just blatantly comparing oneself to other artists we admire. And if it were that, I wouldn't be all that bothered. I mean, yeah, I think we should generally be more positive. This trend, if you see it this way, isn't all that bad. Everyone wants to be better at the things we enjoy, and everyone has idols who they want to be like. The problem for me comes with the way that this trend/phrase was handled and used, because it was almost just an excuse for public self-loathing or just tearing one's own art down. And as far as I could tell, the widespread use of those words or that phrase made a lot of artists feel bad about their own art. Now, I'm not gonna lie here and just say, to fix this, we should not say mean things and be nice, and everyone has to rainbows and flowers and while that'd be great, is not realistic, and obviously negative emotions do better on algorithm controlled platforms like TikTok that push content that keeps people on the app for longer no matter what the content's about. But I don't think this is necessarily a TikTok problem. I think it's not only related to TikTok's community's harmful views on the art improvement, but it also the general art community's view on art. Now, little side tangent, only slightly related. Do you remember that trend of phenomenon? I don't know what to call it, but when young artists were obsessed with the label of, well, young artist, like being good for your age or stuff like that. Like how some people would lament not being a certain age anymore because that just meant their art skills weren't as impressive anymore. I'm pretty sure it still happens sometimes, but I experienced it myself a few years ago when I was at that age of a young artist. I remember that perception of my art made me feel really bad about myself and my art, and I was stuck for a long time in that mindset that nothing I did would be special anymore. Why bother trying? But despite that conception that was pushed onto me, I kept drawing. Just because I like drawing and I've always done it. Just because I couldn't really stop if I wanted to. That's just how I am. And eventually I improved. I started loving my art again. And while I don't love my art every day, trust me, I get bad days, I don't tie my worth or my art's worth to my age or for how long I've been drawing anymore. I just want to learn to draw. For fun. For personal growth. Not to prove anything to anyone. And I guess the struggle with this notion of the art community that's so deep to me is the thing that bothers me. That it plants unnecessary seeds of insecurity in young artists, and honestly all artists, that they're not good enough, that they will never be good enough, and that ultimately that just takes the joy out of art for so many people. The art community seems to have an obsession with technical skill over other things, and while I agree it's a good thing to want to achieve, even I myself sometimes seek it, it seems to have become unhealthy, and it's been for a long while. And I'm not a genius for pointing that out. So many people have done it, but I still want to mention it. I'm not really sure what to conclude of this. There's nothing in specific that anyone can do other than maybe stop participating in these trends, be nicer, maybe when you see some cool art instead of just liking comments, or generally uplifting each other in this grim world instead of sharing around our insecurities for another person to get infected with. Or something like that. I don't know. I'm just yapping. That was Fimo talking. That was Fimo yapping, and I guess I'll see you on the next one. And by the way, I don't know how to edit videos. I hope it wasn't too boring. If you have some tips about that, please let me comment. And this is my first video. Bye!